Okay, bisecting an angle. That is the second construction that we are going to be doing. And guys, these steps are going to be different from the steps that you did on Monday. All right, so you need to make sure that you aren't getting confused and that you are actually memorizing the steps. All right, or practicing them a bunch of times so that it kind of becomes like second nature to you. Okay, let me just see. How was this first note second? Okay. Step one. Like in a test or exam, they normally give you a page and the angle is already drawn on the page and you must do the construction on top of that. Okay, but for today, obviously we don't have that. So you are just going to use a ruler to draw an angle of any size. It doesn't matter what the size of the angle is, the steps that we are going to write down will work on any angle. So I'm just finding my ruler. I'm not sure where it is now. Oh, and I forgot to say, you need to get your map tape out, please. Remove that compass. And guys, another thing that's really important is that if you are using that little pencil, make sure that the point is sharp. Okay, as the pencil gets dull, the arc that you're going to draw will get thicker. All right, and then it's easy to actually not make an accurate construction. So you need to make sure in your math set there should be what's this thing called, a sharpener. So if you want to, if you feel like your pencil is getting a bit dull, you can sharpen it quickly. All right, the sharper the better. The sharper, the more accurate the construction. And please just don't drop your sharpenings on the floor. And just like I said on Monday, if you put your compass and the little pencil back in your set, you're again going to have to link them up. All right, so you can see I just sharpened my pencil now, so it's really sharp. And make sure that it is very tight, right, as tight as you can. So that is going to stop this pencil from moving around when you're doing your constructions. Okay, accuracy is very important. All right, so for this one now, you can just draw a line. All right, that will be the baseline of the angle. And then you can just take the ruler and you can make your angle as big or as small as you want. All right, let's try and keep it. Let's not make it an obtuse angle for now. All right, so that the notice looks similar. So we know what an obtuse angle is. What is it again? Hands up, please. Yes, an angle between this part is not. Okay, an angle between 90 and then actually 180. All right. So this angle, for example, that I'm showing you now, that is obtuse. We are going to work a lot more with angles later on, so don't panic. Okay, I'm just making you guys aware of some terminology. So let's draw an acute angle. All right, an acute angle is the angle that is smaller than 90 degrees. So we saw 90 degrees on Monday. That would be 90. Okay, pretty much. I'm just kind of, yeah, that would be like a 90-degree angle there. So we're just drawing an angle that is smaller than 90. You don't have to measure that angle, all right? We're just drawing an angle. And guys, let's just label the lines that we have here. At the top, make that an A. The point where your angle is actually formed, this is the angle that we're going to bisect. Okay, let's call that one B. And then that third point over there, which is at the end of the baseline, let's call that one C. All right, so A, B, C. Not sure if you guys know this from primary school, but now, if we want to name this angle correctly, this is angle, not just angle B, because there's actually another angle around B. All right, you actually have to call this angle A, B, C. All right, the point where that angle is goes in the middle, and then the letters on the ends of the two lines that are forming that angle go on either side. Okay, so this angle is angle ABC. Let's write it here above that. A, B, C. Okay, that is how you would write that. And again, that's something that we're going to practice a lot for this whole year. So if you are confused about that, don't panic. Now, this is the angle that we are going to bisect. All right, and on Monday, I wrote a list of terminology for you on that video. Bisecting means that you are going to cut it in half. Okay, good. So remember, we can't take a protractor. We can't now take, where is it now? Can't take a protractor and say, okay, I'm going to measure this angle and I'm just going to cut it in half. Right, we're going to have to use our compass to do that. All right, so no protractor, just the compass. Okay, step 2. You don't need to leave that much space open because we're just going to make some construction lines over here, actually. So you can just write step 2 there. So this is similar to step 2 that we did on Monday. I'm just writing it down and I will explain it. So you can just copy it down. Sorry that this is quite a lot of writing. And just copy that down and I'll explain it. Giving everyone a chance to finish copying that down. Okay, if you're ready, you can start opening your compass now. So just like the one that you did on Monday, you need to open it to a width that is larger than half the length of line AB or BC. Now you can check, guys, because my AB, sorry, and BC are not the same length. All right, they're not supposed to be. It's fine if they're not. So it will work if you do it with either of them. I'm just going to work with BC because it's the one at the bottom. It doesn't really matter. Because everyone done copying down. All right, so you can maybe just put the point of the compass there and then just kind of open it so that it's just past half that length. Right, you can kind of eyeball that. You can just estimate that. You don't have to measure it. If you're not sure if you've quite passed halfway, then just go a little bit further. Okay. It has to be longer or wider than half the length of one of your two lines. So that's the first part of step 2. Then, guys, I wrote here in brackets. They say place the point of your compass on point B. But guys, in the test exam, this point is not always going to be B. All right, they can use any letter. They might not even use letters at all. All right. So you are always going to place it on the angle point first, whatever that letter is. Okay. So make sure that you've written the angle point next to that step there. That's important. Okay. So wherever the angle is, you're going to put the point of the compass there. And again, you need to now be very accurate in actually placing it correctly. Okay, so take some time to make sure that it is on that point. Now, you're going to draw it off on line AB. Remember, we are only touching the compass at this top bit. Oh, mine just slipped. All right, so you're drawn off there on AB. Then without changing the width, guys, you just move it across to BC and you're going to draw an arc crossing BC. And remember, the arcs don't have to be very dark. I don't have to be very clear line up there, as long as you can see them. All right, and as long as whoever is marking your work will be able to see them. But don't push very hard or press very hard to try and get a dark line. Okay, the lines don't need to be dark. They just need to be there. Okay, that's first step done, guys. Right? Just make sure that you all have that. And you can have an arc on both of those lines. Okay. Step 3, I'll move up to the picture again once I'm done copying the step down. Now write down steps 3 and 4 at the same time because it's basically the same thing. And then we'll do both steps together. So you can just copy down step 3 and then step 4. Depending on how you can make the cut out, if you don't do this. And tight. If you want to, you can try and do steps 3 and 4 or so long. Just understand the wording there. The same, place a compass point on the point where one arc crosses a line. So we just have two, we just drew two arcs crossing two lines in the previous step, right? So if we're looking at the diagram again, we're talking about that point over there. What do we call that? The point of intersection. Okay, do we remember that terminology? We're going to practice that terminology all the time. All right, so you're going to place the point of your compass. Again, guys, very accurately, please, on that point. And now, sorry for my hand. Now the arc that you're going to draw is going to be inside this angle, all right? So not on the outside, not above there, just somewhere inside this angle, all right? Again, we are only touching the compass on this top bit, and you just draw your arc from there. It's fine if it's kind of on the outside, right? So if your width was very wide, then your arc would be further out, that's fine. As long as it's not above or below the whole diagram, okay? Don't change the width, guys. Put the point of the compass now on the other arc, the other point of intersection of the second arc that we drew, and that bottom line. Again, very carefully, make sure that it's there. Then you're going to draw another arc on the inside of the angle, and make sure, guys, your arcs have to intersect. So you can see that the first arc that I drew, right, is a bit shorter at the top and longer at the bottom. That's fine. You don't have to now go back up and try and make them equally long. It's okay. As long as they intersect. Okay, that's the important thing. They can even be very short, both of them, but they have to cut. All right, the two arcs that you're drawing now, steps 3 and 4, they have to intersect. Does anyone want to wager a guess of what we're going to do now for the next step? I want to someone else. Yes? Yes, so the point of intersection of the two arcs, and then what from that? We're going to draw a line going from or through that point of intersection, and the angle, and that line is going to cut the angle in half. Okay, so let's quickly just write that step down. Use a ruler, guys. You have to please use a ruler for all of this work, all right? You cannot just freehand it. If you don't have a ruler, you need to come speak to me about it. To join the angle point, so in this case, remember the angle point is point B, but it might not always be, all right? So I'm going to say the angle point. We all understand what that means, the point where the angle is formed. To join the angle point to the point of intersection of the two arcs, of the two arcs inside the circle, all right? Because we've actually drawn 4 arcs now, so we have to be specific. So the point of intersection of the two arcs inside, sorry, I said circle, I meant angle. Okay, I'll come back down to that step just now because we're still busy writing down. Remember, it's better to use a pencil again for this step because if you maybe draw your line not perfectly, you can erase it and you can do it again. All right, so we are going, and you can make a point there like we did on Monday, but just make sure that the point is so small that you can still see exactly where those two arcs cross. All right, so you're lining your ruler up. It has to go through the angle point and it has to go through that point of intersection. Okay, and we are drawing that line in. That's line is again a little bit above. Okay, that was fine. Now, guys, you're going to take your protractors and you are actually going to measure the two angles because now we've cut one big angle into two parts. All right, and what we tried to do was we tried to cut the angle in half. So that top angle is supposed to be equal to that bottom angle. All right, so now obviously your angles are all going to be different from mine. All right, so don't worry if yours is different, it's fine. So you're just checking your own angle. And you can write the angle size in if you want. So my bottom angle is 27.5-ish. Now, when you want to measure the second one, guys, you're going to have to put the line, the baseline of the protractor on this line. Okay. So just like I put it on this bottom line now, I need to put it on the line that I drew in. Make sure that it's lining up with that angle there. And yes, that one is also 27.5. If yours was slightly off, remember it could just be because maybe your line that you drew here was slightly to the top or the bottom. Maybe when you went from the one arc to the other arc, you maybe changed the width slightly. You're not supposed to change the width. Yes. And I repeat that again. The compass thing. What do you mean? All the steps. Of the protractor part of measuring it. Sure. Okay, so you take a protractor and you see that little cross. That cross, where that cross is formed, needs to be on that angle point. And then you need to make sure that the line at the bottom is on top of the line that you drew at the bottom. Then, from there, you check where is your pencil line that you just drew. And you go to the top and you measure it or you read it off there. Right, you can see that mine is just below 30. So then I looked at these little lines on the side and I saw that it's about 27. Then you repeat that same thing, but now for the top one, you need to line it up again. That cross must be on point B, but then your bottom line needs to be on the pencil line that you pushed through. And then you read off where that line there. Okay, I can come help you as well there on your page. Just call me over later, guys, and I'll help you if you okay, yeah. So they're supposed to be the same. Okay, so are they very different or are they similar? By 2 decimals. So what are they? Yeah, so then that was probably here where you drew your line. Just check, does your line go exactly through that point? Right, otherwise maybe when you drew your arc here at the top, maybe the width slipped a bit. Okay, so that does not happen with a test or exam or beauty now. Like I said, we'll give you a page, right, like a diagram sheet with this angle printed in pen or in ink, right, from the printer. This angle will be there. So if you're doing it, it's not easy. If you're doing it in a test or exam and you're measuring afterwards and you see, oh no, the one is 26 and the other one is 28. You can erase everything. The angle will still be there and you can start again. All right. Yes, you have a question? Item number 5. And if you want, yes, that's the end of this example. So let's see, 5 minutes. I want to check in your textbook if there is an exercise on this kind of work. Otherwise, we'll do the next construction. Okay, guys, I'm going to give you 2 types of now to practice. One is going to be bisecting a line, which is worth a bit on Monday. Okay, so you're going to practice those same steps again. Like I said already, if you weren't on Monday or if you haven't watched the video, you're going to have to make a plan to do so. Okay, it is on the 0 rated server, so it's not going to take any data you want from there. You just have to get onto the Google Classroom and get to that link. All right, so that will take some data, not a lot, I'm not sure, but the Wi-Fi here should work. All right. You're going to do one of those and then you're going to do another one of these. All right, I want us to continue practicing the constructions all together instead of just one and then one and then one, because I think you might forget the first one if we just don't practice it again. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'm going to write here. This is now classwork. And I am going to just walk around while you guys are working and help you if you get stuck. Okay, see how it's going. So your classwork, the first part of it is going to be construct and I will explain what this question actually means just now. Construct a perpendicular bisector of AB if AB is equal to 10 centimeters. That is the first one that you're going to do. And then for the second one, draw any obtuse angle and then bisect that angle. I will also just give you a rundown of what that means and what I am expecting of you. But in maths, the instructions sometimes seem very complicated, right? So we do need to get used to mathematical terms. We do need to memorize basically what is a perpendicular bisector. What does the word bisect mean? What does construct mean? What is obtuse? All right, it is almost like another language that we do need to learn. You can just copy that down and then I will just play, give you some tips. So for number 1, construct a perpendicular bisector. Now guys, the note that we did on Monday, if you just go back to that note, at the end of that video, we looked at the actual thing that we bisected. I'll put that up just now again if you weren't done copying it down. When we bisected this line, right, following all these steps, do you remember I then checked and we saw that this was actually a 90-degree angle as well. Okay, so then we went to the heading where we wrote at first bisecting a line. We added to that. You will follow the exact same steps if they are asking you to draw or to construct a perpendicular bisector. Perpendicular means that it forms a 90-degree angle with the line that you have. Bisector means that it cuts it in half. So guys, when they are asking you to draw or construct a perpendicular bisector, you follow the same steps that we wrote down on Monday. Okay, the question is different, but they're asking the same thing essentially. Okay, the steps are the same. So that is what you're going to do for number one. You are going to follow the steps that we wrote down for bisecting a line. Now they're saying of AB, if AB is 10 centimeters, what do you think that means? Yes. Yes, the bottom line that you're going to draw at first. You're going to call it AB like we did on Monday, and you need to measure it out. It's 10 centimeters long. Okay, so that is the first thing that you do. You're going to take your ruler, you're going to draw 10 centimeters A and then B. And that is the line that you are bisecting. Okay, so at the end, when you check, you're supposed to have a 5 centimeter part and another 5 centimeter part. All right. So that is what you're doing, guys. I'll add here to the instructions. So that is another thing that you need to memorize, right? You need to memorize, okay? Constructive perpendicular bisector is the same as bisecting a line. All right, we're not going to tell you that in the question. You need to remember that, okay? So there's a lot of stuff that we need to take note of, that we need to memorize. So we are going to bisect a 10 centimeter line. That's essentially what we are doing for this first question. So you draw AB 10 centimeters, you're always saying bisecting a line 6. Okay, are you alright with number one? Do you know what to do? And if you don't, you can just call me over when I say that stop working. For number two now, the example that we just did, right? The angle that we bisect wasn't a acute angle, so this was smaller than 90. Now I'm wanting you to draw any obtuse angle and then apply all the same steps that we did, but your angle is going to look like this. All right, so I'll just do a little example here. Your obtuse angle can just look like that, for example. Okay, that's an example of an obtuse angle. Obviously, you have to draw it yourself, so it can be the closer, it can be a little bit bigger, but guys, it has to be bigger than 90 degrees. Okay, something like that, that's an obtuse angle. Something like this is a 90-degree angle. It has to be bigger than that. Okay, so then the steps are all the same. So this is going to look slightly different, right? Because you're going to draw it off here and here. In from this off, you're going to do another off. From this one, you're going to do another off, and then you do a line. Okay, exact same steps. All right, you can get going.